In a peaceful village nestled between green hills and golden paddy fields of South India, lived an old man named Appa Rao. Not a man of riches, not a man of power, but one whose presence carried something deeper: stillness. Every morning, just as the first rays of sunlight touched the clay roofs, Appa Rao would rise from his humble mud house. He would wash his face with cool water from a copper vessel, comb back his silver hair, and fill a small flask with warm chai brewed with cardamom and love. With slow steps and a heart wide open, he would walk to the village bus stop, where a massive banyan tree stood like a silent guardian. Beneath its wide canopy stood a wooden bench, old, half-cracked, and softened by time. That was Appa Rao's place. Not to catch a bus, but to wait. For people. To listen. To smile. To share a bit of warmth with a cup of tea. The beginning of a gentle ritual. Villagers whispered. Appa Rao's retired from life, now he's the village Baba. Why sit in the heat all day like that? But Appa Rao only smiled. He'd say, everyone needs a place to speak and someone to listen. I'll be that someone. At first, people passed him by. Some with suspicion. Some with silent amusement. Some just too busy. But the bench waited. And so did Appa Rao, like the banyan tree itself, steady, unmoving, quietly rooted. One morning, a woman selling vegetables stopped. Her basket was heavy, but her eyes heavier. She sat, uninvited. Her shoulders drooped. My husband drinks, my son is always sick. I don't know what to do, she whispered. Appa Rao poured her a cup of tea. He said softly, that's a heavy basket, child. Sit for a while. Let your heart rest. She cried. Quietly. And when she rose, her steps were just a little lighter. Yellow heart word spread. Quietly, like fragrance. One day, a boy sat there, cheeks red from being scolded at school. Another day, a widow whose words had been buried for years finally spoke. A young farmer came after losing another crop to drought. A little girl came, too shy to speak, but bold enough to sip his sweet chai. Appa Rao gave no advice. He didn't try to fix their lives. He just listened. Sometimes he nodded. Sometimes he poured more tea. Sometimes he said nothing at all, and yet gave everything. Over time, that old bench under the banyan became more than wood and shadow. It became a temple of words. A sacred place for unburdening. Sun with face. Then came the summer of the drought. The earth cracked. The wells dried. The crops withered to dust. The village grew angry. Fear crept into homes. Fathers shouted. Mothers wept silently. But still, every day, Appa Rao came. This time, he brought a clay matka, a cool pot of water with tulsi leaves floating gently, and a hint of jaggery. Drink some. Then breathe, he'd say. And it helped. Even for a moment. Medium skin tone boy. A seed arrives in dust. One scorching afternoon, a boy came. Dust clung to his uniform. His lips were dry. His eyes empty. He sat down without a word. Appa Rao waited. The boy finally whispered, I failed, Appa. My father said I'm ashamed. My teacher said I won't succeed. Appa Rao looked into his eyes and said, Child, a seed doesn't grow just because the sun is hot. It needs water, time, shade. You didn't fail. "You're just not finished." The boy, named Arun, didn't fully understand. But he drank the tea and walked home with something new in his step, not pride, but hope. Rain cloud, the years rolled on like the river. Monsoons returned. The land healed. So did the people. Children grew. Some moved to towns. Some forgot. Some remembered. Appa Rao's back bent more. His hearing faded. But every morning, he came. Even when no one sat. Even when it rained. Even when he could barely climb the path to the bench. One day, he found flowers placed neatly on the bench. Another day, a shy child placed a biscuit on his palm and ran away. Still, he sat. He listened. He waited. And the banyan tree stood over him, older now, wiser, with its roots hugging the earth like ancient arms. Automobile. Then one monsoon morning, a car arrived. Not just any car. A luxury car gleaming even in the soft rain. It stopped beside the banyan tree. Out stepped a tall young man in a crisp white shirt, a folder in one hand and a key in the other. He approached slowly. "Appa Rao?" he asked gently. The old man, now leaning heavily on a cane, turned. "I'm Arun," said the man with a smile. "Do you remember me?" Appa Rao blinked and then whispered, "You were the seed." Arun laughed softly. "Yes, you told me I wasn't finished." He knelt beside the old man and placed the folder in his lap. Inside was a deed. "I built something," he said. "A center. A place for anyone to come, to talk, to read, to rest. I called it the listening center." He placed the key in Appa Rao's wrinkled hand. "In your name," Arun added, "so your bench, your kindness, never disappears." Appa Rao's hands trembled. "But I'm just an old man," he said. "No, Appa. You were the reason I kept going. When everyone shouted, you listened. When the world was loud, you were quiet. And that saved me." Tears met rain on Appa Rao's cheeks. The banyan tree swayed gently, as if nodding. Seedling. Moral of the story. Sometimes, the most powerful gift we can give isn't advice or money or praise. It's presence. It's patience. It's listening. Kindness doesn't need to be grand. It just needs to be given again and again like a warm cup of chai. Because kindness creates ripples. And sometimes, just sometimes, a few quiet words spoken beneath an old banyan tree can bloom into a future we never imagined. Sparkling heart. Closing line. So the next time you wonder if one person can truly make a difference, remember Appa Rao's bench. You don't need to move the world. Just be still enough to let someone share theirs.